Will someone please think of the journalists? CNN cries as hundreds of journalists are being laid off. Hello everyone, this is Mr. Obvious, and today on CNN.com. So, hundreds of journalists are being laid off right when the public needs them the most.
Oh wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
Journalists. The truth about journalism these days is a very simple one. Journalism is now corrupt. The American public knows that journalists lie, they cheat, and they steal, and they mislead the viewer. So many journalists aren't journalists, but political activists. People who push their agendas and are willing to mislead the public to do it. They show no respect for the people anymore, and journalism is no longer regarded as a respected industry, maybe only by journalists, but not by the normal person. Here on the Columbia Journalism Review. Headline: Most Americans say they have lost trust in the media. In fact, American trust in the media is down. In 2018, it was down 30%. I think by other polls, I've seen that 1 in 3 Americans just don't trust the media whatsoever.
I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
So here we are. CNN's complaining that journalists are being let go. Oh, will someone please think of the journalists in this time of national crisis where people are suffering? But before we read the story, a quick word from this week's sponsor.
Zuck the cuck drinks water like a duck, but he also drinks your data. So tell him and Google to shove your data up their schwing-schwangs by downloading the Brave browser. It's free, blocks online advertising, and protects your privacy and data from evil tech companies. You only see ads if you want to see them, and you get cryptocurrency for your attention. Don't let Zuck use you to make a buck. Download Brave by clicking on the link down below.
And we're back. Let's see what CNN has to say. New York, CNN Business. 2020 was supposed to be a banner year for digital media. BuzzFeed, Group 9, and Vice each indicated that this year they would be profitable, a long, elusive goal for an industry bedeviled by diminishing ad dollars. Yeah, so media websites are failing. And is it any wonder? Sites like BuzzFeed and Vice are always pushing these politically charged stories about how the orange man is bad and how Republicans are evil and you're always attacking the average American, the conservative American, half of the population. But no one could have predicted that a global health crisis would hit just as business was picking up. Well, I think the decline of the media has been a long-withstanding thing. We've already seen layoffs in the journalism sector. A lot of journalists are getting laid off. A lot of contractors are being laid off. There's various reasons for this. But the simple fact of the matter is there's just no money in it. These people make so much money. So I want to show you something, okay? Now, this was a leak, and it came out a while back, and it's called Real Media Salaries. You see, journalists were upset that they weren't making enough money, that they just weren't getting paid enough. They couldn't possibly survive. Will someone please think of the journalists? They cried. But if you look through this, you're going to find out that journalists are some of the most well-paid, spoiled, and honestly lazy individuals because most journalists, as far as I can tell, produce really bad content. But let's just take a look. A senior reporter at Broadcast Media makes $125,000. 6 figures for being a reporter. Well, that's certainly nothing close to the median income in America, much less what the average Joe will earn a year. For many people, that's, like 3 to 4 times their salary? But what if you're an editor? So there's an associate photo editor, and judging by most people's editing experience, not that good. He works for a Canadian media company, and he makes $57,000. Pretty good. Pretty damn good. What about a content strategist from a financial institution? Oh, they make $109,000. Okay, I think you're starting to get the point here. Some of these aren't as glorious as others, but a lot of these are really, really high. So journalists can essentially get paid a bunch of money. And what do they really do? They say Orange Man is bad. They call right-wingers bad. And they push your agendas. No, it's not all like this. It just so happens that a majority of media is left-wing. So here are some of the numbers. Currently, a record-shattering 3.3 million Americans filed for unemployment last week after residents in many parts of the country were ordered to stay home and practice social distancing. CNN Business reported on Sunday that at least 100 people in the local newsroom in the US had lost their jobs in March. By Friday, that number shot up to at least 300 people. I'm currently making some hand gestures. I don't know why, since you can't actually see them. So BuzzFeed is, instead of laying people off, they're reducing people's salaries. I'm sure they have a lot of wiggle room for that. Let's take a look at BuzzFeed. Is BuzzFeed in here? Oh, it is. Let's look at how much BuzzFeed people get paid, okay? So, this person creates programming clocks, schedules stuff. They make $50,000 a year. There's one who makes $26,000 a year. Okay, that's moderate. That's average, right? That's average. That makes sense. There's someone else who does data coverage. $67,000, $71,000, $82,000, $59,000, $90,000, $72,000. Okay, it seems like you get paid a lot of money if you go to BuzzFeed. For the most part, I guess the average one is probably just, what do you call it? An intern. Here they say, the sad twist about these layoffs and restructuring is that they come just as the public is hungry for information about the pandemic. But there are now fewer journalists to provide vital information about it. Traffic is up for many sites, and TV ratings have increased as people are stuck at home watching the news. Yeah, a lot of people are watching the news, but that doesn't mean they need journalists more than ever. I mean, honestly, get over yourself. Nobody likes journalists anymore. I hate journalism. And what I do a lot of times is basically journalism. It's kind of depressing. I don't want to be anything like a journalist. I would never want to call myself a journalist. You know, I've done some investigative stuff in the past. Just journalism is tainted. It's no longer what it used to be. You know, it's no longer about the truth. I always thought journalists were nosy, narcissistic, egotists who see journalism as their way of being a superhero. And it makes me sick at this point. So what does the future hold for journalists? It looks like the government is bailing out the journalists. For example, the BBC, which is supported by government-mandated fees. Hey, did you pay your BBC license yet? You mean big, black? Yes, that's exactly what I mean. Which are paid by UK citizens. I mean, I couldn't even imagine this. Government news mandated by the government. Oh, did you pay your BBC license? Mandated by the government. Can you imagine that? It's absolute nonsense. So they're suspending their plan to cut 450 jobs. The cuts would have saved 40 million, what is that, euro, pound, sterling, one of those euro currencies. 40 million. 40 million! That's your taxpayer money. That's your taxes, folks. If you live in the UK, I honestly can't believe that you're paying that much for the news. It's sad. And then we know the BBC is biased itself. It's a cesspit of progressive ideology and left-wing, stuff. It's not balanced. There's no right-wingers. It's just all left. We're in an unbelievable crisis that no one's ever seen in anyone who's alive lifetime. What? We're in an unbelievable crisis that no one's ever seen in anyone who's alive lifetime. And is that a proper sentence? You need a copy editor here? You could have said that in a much better way. We're in a crisis that no one has ever seen before in their lifetimes, maybe, right? Yeah, who's alive? Why do you need to clarify? Okay. I'm getting nitpicky here. And you see, and these people think they're worth six figures. And guess what their lifeline is? It's the local news media, because it's the only way they're keeping informed, Kaplan said. Blah, blah, blah. That's the story, folks. Journalists are dropping like flies, and you know what? I don't feel bad for them. There's definitely a bit of Schadenfreude.
Get what you fucking deserve!
I'm gonna say, because you know what? Maybe the era of journalism and mainstream fake news is over, and maybe now we can actually get the news from people we trust. That's what I do. I assume that's what some people who watch me do. Because at the end of the day, who are you gonna trust? The man or woman in the fancy suit in a studio with a six-figure salary with corporate owners telling them what to say, or the jack-off with a microphone who's just like you? I don't know about you, but my vote is the common man. But that's merely the obvious. Well, that's all for now, folks. What do you think about this story? Should we think of the journalists in these trying times? Are they the real victims? Be sure to let me know. Now, as always, if you like this content and would like to contribute to it, you can join me on Patreon or Subscribestar. All links are down below in the description. If you want to donate, there's donor box that works with PayPal and, all your standard things. And cryptocurrency, probably the best thing you can do is just to share the video. Post it on social media. If you think it's worth sharing, show it to people you want to be informed. As always, thanks for watching. This has been Mr. Obvious, and I'll see you all next time.